All right. Seems like we're getting closer to knowing what the next fight is going to be for Canelo Alvarez, and 95% done with Billy Joe Saunders. This is what I think is another soft touch for Canelo Alvarez. It's another larger name who's looking diminished. But that's not the most interesting thing about it. It's the excuse that Canelo Alvarez uses for why he's not fighting guys that are seemingly more dangerous. And it is that they're asking for too much money. Asking for too much money. I wonder why that is. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders are supposed to be 95% done negotiating a fight for May 2nd for Canelo Alvarez, and it is a fight that I could not give a fat rat about. Canelo fighting for the WBO 168-pound championship. Look, man, I like Canelo Alvarez as a fighter. I think Canelo Alvarez has the ability to beat. He could beat anybody. He has the ability. I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying he has the ability to beat anybody at 160 or 168. He has the ability to do it, right? Some other people have the ability and an opportunity to beat him too. One of the people that does not, though, is Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders looked like warmed over dog dung in his last fight. Chubby and out of shape at 168 pounds, fighting a guy from Argentina. He wound up pulling it off because the guy from Argentina got a little bit cocky, but he just did not look very good. And on top of it, I do not think that Billy Joe Saunders' style is going to be able to beat Canelo Alvarez because Canelo Alvarez is a very, very good fighter with upper body movement, and it's going to be very hard for Billy Joe Saunders to land a clean shot on him. And so I would pick Canelo Alvarez to win that fight. Now, I think Billy Joe Saunders has the ability, he's not a bad fighter. At 160 pounds, I thought he was a good fighter. But, I think is the best win that he has is probably David Lemieux or Chris Eubank. David Lemieux or Chris Eubank. He looked spectacular against David Lemieux, who really has both feet nailed to the carpet. But that's not Canelo Alvarez. It's not a fight that I'm particularly interested in, but I do find it interesting that why Canelo Alvarez is saying that he's having a hard time getting fights done with people. Because we know that he's looking at two people to fight. Two people that I've heard that he was looking to fight. And here they are. Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith. Now, let's look at the champions at 168 and 160. Let's leave 175 alone because Canelo had no business at 175. He got up out of 175 as quick as he could. There's not going to be an Arthur Beterbiev or Beterbiev, however you pronounce that, fight with Canelo Alvarez. He's not going to do that one, okay? And honestly, I could see why he wouldn't want to do that. That's a really big guy, very aggressive, very strong guy. And I don't think Canelo Alvarez can win that fight with Arthur Beterbiev. And I think he'd have a very difficult time with Demetrius Bivol as well. I just don't think he belongs in. I don't think he belongs in that weight class. He got in and got out against Sergey Kovalev, got him some money. Got another weight division champion over there for the WBO. So, he could. I don't think that 175 is out, but let's look at the other guys at 168 and 160. Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, and Demetrius Andrade and Gennady Golovkin. Now, Gennady Golovkin is an obvious. Gennady Golovkin, he's already beaten Gennady Golovkin once. He got a draw and he beat Gennady. He got a draw and he beat Gennady Golovkin. So, and I'm okay with that. He's done that. He's fought that guy. There's no need to go back there. So I don't have an issue with it. He could probably go back there and he would beat Gennady Golovkin again. I think he's already proven that he's beat Gennady Golovkin. Personally, I think he beat Gennady Golovkin twice. And the robbery screams came out on that one, and I'm still like, yeah, Man, mighty funny, dude. Mighty funny. Hardly anybody screaming when Erislandy Lara got robbed. But Gennady Golovkin, man, everybody, let's have a storm over that one. He's not going to go back into that Gennady Golovkin thing because no matter what happens, you're going to have certain section of fans screaming robbery. But the Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, that's because those guys have the ability to beat him and have the ability to beat him and make him look bad. That's my opinion on that. And the reason why it's not David Benavidez or Caleb Plant is the same reason. Now I know that they were supposed to send an offer to Caleb Plant, for May 2nd, sent an offer to him or brought it up the day after his fight, and for him to get ready to fight Canelo Alvarez in, 8 weeks? May 2nd is like 8, that's 2 months. That's 8 weeks because it is 2 weeks out from March. That's 10 weeks. You have all of February, all of March, all of April. So that's 8 weeks. That's 10 weeks. He would have to literally take a break and take a 2-week break and get into another 8-week training camp to go back at Canelo Alvarez. Just to make that offer tells you that that's some gamesmanship going on. But the reason that why Canelo Alvarez said that this was an issue was because people are asking for a lot of money to fight him. I think he said they're asking for the moon and the stars to fight him. Look, man, what do you expect people to do? What do you expect when your network basically sells the idea that you signed the biggest boxing contract or the biggest contract in sports history, $350 million for 10 fights. If you're fighting, you've got $350 million or $35 million a fight sitting there for you. You don't think somebody else who's getting into the ring wants to have a huge paycheck to fight you? If they're going to put all that money into the fight, why is the other guy out of sorts for saying that he deserves to get a very big payday as well? Canelo Alvarez can't go in there and shadow box by himself. And once you have a history of paying one guy a certain amount of money, other people are going to ask for that money too. If you rumor that and I'm telling you, and Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya and DAZN did that because they want to make it look like the fight is really, really big. And since you don't have any viewers, right? You don't have any viewers that are signed up to DAZN. I'm not saying any, but you have a small number of eyeballs on the fight in DAZN. How can you make it seem huge? You make it seem huge by talking about how much money you're spending on it. Like, this is going to cost, we're spending $1 billion on fights to break into the United States. So if DAZN is saying we have $1 billion budget and we paid Danny Jacobs $12 million for this fight, and we pay Andy Ruiz $10 million and $8 million for that fight, and you're paying I don't know how many paying Mikey Garcia $8 million for his fight to fight Jesse Vargas and all these career high paydays. Why wouldn't you think that why would you be surprised that another champion is using what you've already paid other people as a measuring stick for what they should be paid? Of course they're going to say, hey, yeah, I want $10 million. This is Canelo Alvarez. It's not Anthony Joshua. If you got Canelo Alvarez, if you can pay Big Baby Miller, offer Big Baby Miller $8 million and Andy Ruiz $7 million for the first fight against Anthony Joshua, and we're fighting Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez is a bigger star than Anthony Joshua is. He's the bigger money man than Anthony Joshua is. Why shouldn't I get 10 for that? Why shouldn't I get 12 for that? That just makes sense, and that's not unreasonable for somebody else for them to do. As a matter of fact, it should be expected. But here's the problem, and this is the problem, and this model that the DAZN's under doing this is not new. When you give somebody I think it happened with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and I think that another example of it happened, at least if you listen to Jim Lampley, is it happened with Roy Jones Jr. when HBO gave Roy Jones Jr. a guaranteed amount of money for the fighters that he was going to fight, Roy Jones Jr., according to Jim Lampley, decided that he was going to take fighters that were less risk because his money was already set, right? His money's already set. So he's going to knock off Montel Griffith. He's going to beat, he's going to fight multiple guys that you think might not necessarily be that good a fighter. Because what is his motivation to take on a more difficult fighter? There isn't one. Because he's going to get the same amount of money no matter what he does. Same thing happened with Floyd Mayweather Jr. Once Floyd Mayweather Jr. got the contract with Showtime, there was a bunch of guys that he was fighting. Everybody's a flat-footed fighter. Everybody, pretty much all the guys were flat-footed fighters with Mexican last names. Hey, he's got his guaranteed money set. He's going to be on Cinco de Mayo. He's going to be on September 16th. He's going to get this money because the next fight, he's got to get through this contract and get the money. Right? To finish out, because his motivation is to get through the 7 fights, to get through the 8 fights, right? So he can earn all that money. The same thing with Canelo Alvarez. His motivation, when you give him a 10-fight deal at $35 million a fight, his motivation is not now to give as good a fight as I can get going so that people will pay me, so the fans will pay me. Their motivation is let me get fights that I can win so I can make sure I can get all 10 of my fights. Because, right, it's prize fighting, and that's what he's doing. So Canelo Alvarez shouldn't be surprised at all about that. But that's the risk with the DAZN business model. Same thing as far as the payment of fighters for a set number of fights. Same thing with what Terrence Crawford has over at ESPN. He's got a set amount of money per fight, the minimum per fight that he's going to get for a specific number of fights. So his job is to get through all those fights. And unless it's some major thing that is going to make him get the entire value of that contract, before it's up, like an Errol Spence Jr. pay-per-view or something like that, then he's going to take the easy route the whole way because the deal is designed for him to take the easy route. But anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanking everybody that supports the channel through the live streams, through the Patreons, through the joining members as the channel, joining as members of the channel. And with that, I'm out. Peace.